Hey everybody, this is just a quick intro to the video. This particular video is an introduction to hot stamping video from my Leathercraft 101 course. I'm just throwing this up here on YouTube to give people an example of the types of video I make, kind of the video quality and how I cover things, just my general style. So if you're interested, please check out the links in the bio. I explain what's covered in the course, what qualifies me to have a course in the first place, and obviously a link to the course if you're interested. It's a subscription because I'm constantly adding stuff, cancel it anytime. I mean, worst case, you lose 20 bucks, but I can pretty much guarantee you're going to like the course. It's basically just a download of my brain of all the stuff I've learned over the past decade. So it's a great shortcut to becoming a self-sufficient leather crafter and not relying on, pre-made patterns and all that BS. So enough talking your ear off. Here's the example video, introduction to hot stamping. So once you get deeper into leathercraft and you start selling your items, you may start to realize the drawbacks of just whacking your maker's mark into your projects with a hammer, as well as, whacking initials or various other personalizations requested by your customers. It can be unpredictable because there's no way to really introduce any uniformity or precise control into that process. And that's usually about the time you begin to think about getting a hot stamping machine. Hot stamping machines allow you to much more precisely stamp logos, designs, or text into leather and allow for much more predictable and repeatable results. Not only that, you can introduce foil into the process and add color to your stamps. With custom stamping dies, sets of different fonts, and the wide variety of foils available, the possibilities are pretty much endless. There are basically three variables when hot stamping. You have temperature, pressure, and dwell time. Temperature is most important when you're foil stamping. Hot stamping foils have heat-activated adhesive on the back and require a certain temperature to work correctly. Too little heat and the glue will not activate. So the foil will either not transfer to the leather at all or transfer incompletely, leaving little patches of foil here and there. On the other hand, too much heat and the glue will activate over too large an area while you're stamping and you'll get foil up the size of your impression, and it may even spill over onto the surface of the leather, which just looks horrible. Whenever you purchase a foil, a manufacturer should specify the temperature required, but it's going to take some experimentation because the heat reading on the machine isn't necessarily what the temperature is at the die you're using to make your impression, and that's really the only part interacting with the foil. Also, different color foils and different material foils will require different temperatures. You don't have to use foil though. You can just build up some heat and stamp your leather without any foil if you prefer the natural look. I will say that sometimes the color isn't uniform though across the stamp, but this can be remedied by using a foil a little darker than the leather you're stamping. Next up is pressure. Pressure is determined by how hard you pull down on the handle of the machine. You'll have to kind of calibrate your hand through practice and repetition to get nice, repeatable, uniform results, but this variable is a lot more forgiving than the temperature variable. To figure out how much pressure you need to use, you just need to set your machine to the proper temperature for the foil you're using and practice using light to heavy pressure on scrap leather until you find what works best. Dwell time is how long you leave the die engaged with the leather under pressure. With my Kingsley, when stamping initials with 23 karat gold foil, I usually give it a 1 Mississippi and then come back up. This works best for me. If you have to dwell for a long time, your heat is probably too low. Now that we've got the basics, there's two ways you can go about stamping. You can just overlay the foil and stamp down, debossing and applying the foil simultaneously. That works best with firmer leathers or if you're hot foil stamping your logo on craft paper boxes for your packaging. The other way is to stamp your leather without any foil and then deboss a second time with the foil overlaid. This usually results in a much cleaner and prettier foil application on most leathers. When using this technique, it's very important to make sure the leather you're stamping is properly immobilized. If it shifts between stampings, it's just going to look horrible. If you're planning on adding your logo to an item or any kind of personalization whatsoever, it is very important to stamp the leather before you build the item. This way, if you screw it up, you can just cut out and stamp another piece of leather. If you stamp an item that's already been made, you're taking a huge gamble, especially since most items won't lay exactly flat once assembled. It takes a little thinking ahead to accomplish this with cutoff allowances and stitch allowances and all that, but it will definitely save you time in the long run.